Hi everyone, my name is Madison. I decided to do my professional development research project on how to create equity for women of color in STEM. So just to give a little bit of background information as to why I felt like this topic was so important, the three main reasons are basically because women and people of color have been underrepresented and marginalized in education, curriculum, and society and media in general. And oftentimes we have seen that this underrepresentation and marginalization falls over into the classroom and gives a less equitable chance for these students to be successful. Another reason is because there's a lot of stereotypes in society that also, once again, fall over into the classroom and make it hard for these students to be successful when these stereotypes and stereotype threats are working against them and telling them that they can't be successful because success in STEM is actually for somebody else, like white males or white women or Asian women. The last one is that women of color and girls of color have reported feeling dismissed and isolated in their education. And I felt as though as educators, we have a responsibility to make sure that they don't feel isolated and they don't feel dismissed in their own education. My three goals for this research was to find out why there has been a lack of representation, how to destigmatize women working in a male-dominated career, and if education has a connection with that, and how stereotypes surrounding who is successful in STEM have seeped into literature and into our classrooms. So through my research, I found that there were basically three main reasons why creating equity in the classroom has been a challenge, and three deterrents from success in STEM that might get in our way of making sure that success in STEM is equitable for everybody. So the first one, like I said, is stereotypes. So on the screen, I've just kind of listed three main stereotypes that have been found to be true, not only in the articles that I read, but I know to be true in my own life. I know that these stereotypes I have heard, and they affect students of color and students in general as to knowing who can be successful in the classroom. The second one being treatment of students in color. In one of the research articles that I read, it talked about how often the treatment of students of color and having more harsh disciplinary actions often takes them out of the classroom at a higher rate and gives them a harder chance of being successful because they aren't in school because of their disciplinary actions against the things that they're wearing or their hairstyles, which have nothing to do with their actual academic ability, but does hurt them in the long run and obviously does not give them an equitable chance of being successful. The third one, like I said, being underrepresentation. So women of color and women in general have seen or had a lack of equal representation of diversity in curriculum and textbooks and media, and often leads them to think that a successful scientist only looks like a white male with crazy hair and a lab coat, and that doesn't help them be successful. That ultimately the students internalize that idea and think that girls with darker skin or boys with darker skin will not be successful because that's not what success looks like in textbooks and in movies and media in general. So the most important part, how can we apply these things that we know to be deterrents and make sure that our classroom is equitable for women of color? So the first one would be making sure that our students see role models that look like them in the classroom. So us as educators making sure that we're looking at our curriculum that we're providing and making sure that there are people that look like our students in those books and in our posters around our rooms. Making sure that we have a welcoming classroom, so making sure that our students feel like they are accepted and they are welcome and they are included is extremely important for making sure that our students will know that they can be successful. Third one being making sure our students' interests are included in our lessons. So one of the articles that I read had a really awesome idea of providing a science interest survey at the beginning of the year and making sure that whatever our students write that they're interested in science or math or technology or engineering, making sure that we include those things in our lessons throughout the year to make sure that our engagement is up and our students want to be there and want to engage because they're going to be interested in what they're learning about. The last three, making sure that once again we have a welcoming classroom and having a welcoming classroom for all students that promotes the success of all of our students will help them have a growth mindset and have a positive outlook on their own education. Shifting classroom guidelines so that they're not getting kicked out of the classroom for a certain hairstyle. No thanks, guys. And lastly, making sure that we have hands-on activities so that our labs or our math lessons are accessible for all types of learners. Yeah. So just to wrap that up, I put in a quote here, but I want to just keep it short. My research through reading these articles and breaking down what all these said, basically what I found is that as educators, we have an opportunity to make sure that we are acting as advocates and leaders in academia to create purposeful instruction in our classrooms that celebrates diversity and inclusion and equity of our students to make sure that all of our students will be successful, no matter what they're bringing in their classroom or bringing to the table. We know that girls have a different experience than boys, and Black students and minority students and Latino students have a different experience moving through the world, and making sure that in our classroom, those intersections of identities don't affect how they can be successful in their futures. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. And that's the end of my presentation.